The scent of turpentine and old promises clings to everything in my father's gallery. It's a ghost I breathe in every day, a constant reminder of the legacy I'm failing. The Tomlinson Gallery, once a modest but respected name in Chicago's art scene, is now just a collection of beautiful, unsellable things bleeding money. The red numbers in my ledger are a gaping wound, and every day I apply another useless bandage. Rain slicks the streets outside, turning the city lights into a blurry watercolor of neon and gloom. It's a Tuesday night, which means the gallery should have been closed for hours, but I'm still here, hunched over a canvas, trying to restore a small landscape that has a crack running through it like a jagged scar. A fitting metaphor for my life. A sharp rap on the glass door makes me jump. My heart leaps into my throat, a frantic bird beating against my ribs. It's him again, Mr. Sokolov. He doesn't look like a real estate developer. He looks like a bruiser, a man whose knuckles have an intimate relationship with other people's teeth. He and his silent, hulking associates have been by 4 times this week, their offers becoming less like proposals and more like countdowns. They want the building, and they don't care that my father's soul is embedded in the plaster. I ignore the knock, hoping he'll think the place is empty, that I've finally given up and gone home. My breath catches in my chest, a small, tight knot of fear. The knocking comes again, harder this time, a percussive threat against the thick plate glass. I can see his silhouette through the frosted lettering of the gallery's name, a broad-shouldered shadow that blots out the streetlights. I stay perfectly still, my brush frozen over the canvas. The silence that follows is worse than the noise. It stretches, taut and menacing, until I finally hear his heavy footsteps receding. I exhale, a shaky, shuddering breath, and my shoulders slump. How much longer can I do this? How long can I hold back the tide with my bare hands? My phone buzzes on the workbench, a text from my landlord. Rent past due. Final notice. The words are a punch to the gut. I squeeze my eyes shut. I am so tired of being strong. I am so tired of fighting alone. My father, he made it all look so easy. He'd glide through this space, a glass of wine in one hand, charming patrons, his passion for art a palpable force. For him, this gallery was a living thing. For me, it's a beautiful ornate tombstone. Deciding I can't stare at the cracked painting or the threatening text message for another second, I start the closing routine. I kill the gallery lights, leaving only the dim glow of the work lamp on my bench. The alley door is my usual exit. It's faster than going out the front and resetting the main alarm. The alley is narrow, wedged between my building and a brick-faced restaurant, perpetually smelling of garlic and damp cardboard. As I turn the deadbolt, a sound from the alley stops me. A grunt of pain, low and guttural, followed by a sickening thud. My blood runs cold. Every instinct screams at me to lock the door, turn around, and pretend I heard nothing. Chicago is a city of a million noises, and most of them are best ignored. But then I hear a voice, rough and laced with menace. "Marco, you tell your boss the Petrovs are done waiting. This territory is ours now." Petrovs. The name means nothing to me, but the tone is universal. This is not a simple mugging. I press my eye to the peephole, a tiny distorted window into a world I have no business seeing. 3 large men have a 4th man pinned against the opposite wall. 2 of them are Sokolov's hulking associates, the ones who stand behind him and glower. The man they have cornered, Marco, is bleeding from his lip, but his eyes are defiant. Costa doesn't bow to dogs. He spits, the words thick with blood. One of Sokolov's men laughs, a harsh, ugly sound. He will, after we send him pieces of you. He pulls something from his coat. It glints under the single, flickering security light. A knife. Panic, cold and absolute, seizes me. This is happening, right here. 10 feet from my door. They're going to kill him. I should run. I should hide. I should call the police. But my phone is on the workbench inside, a lifetime away. My mind is a frantic scramble of useless options. But as the man with the knife steps forward, my father's voice echoes in my head, a memory from a childhood scraped knee. "You always help, Jenna, no matter what." It was his simplest, most unwavering rule. I don't think. I act. My eyes dart around the small back room of the gallery. On the wall, next to the circuit breakers, is a red box. The fire alarm. It's a direct line to the fire department, loud as a bomb. Without a second thought, I lunge for it. My hand is trembling as I pull the lever down. The effect is instantaneous. A deafening metallic clangor erupts, shattering the night. A strobe light inside the bell box begins to flash, bathing the alley in frantic pulses of red. The men jolt, their heads snapping toward the source of the noise. They are caught between surprise and fury. "What the hell?" one of them shouts over the din. Sokolov's man, the one with the knife, looks directly at my door. For a heart-stopping second, I think he sees me through the peephole. His eyes are cold, furious pits of darkness. He gives the injured man, Marco, one last shove. This isn't over. Then they're gone, melting back into the shadows of the city as the first distant wail of a siren begins to cut through the night. The man named Marco slumps against the wall, clutching his side. He looks at my door, his expression a mixture of pain, confusion, and something else I can't quite read. Gratitude, maybe. He pushes himself upright, stumbles for a moment, and then disappears down the other end of the alley just as the fire engine turns onto our street, its lights painting the buildings in frantic strokes of red and white. I lean my forehead against the cool metal of the door, my body shaking uncontrollably. The alarm is still shrieking, a soundtrack to my racing heart. I just inserted myself into a war between men named Costa and Petrov. My father's simple rule just might have gotten me killed. The next day, the gallery feels different. The air is heavy, charged with the memory of last night's terror. The rain has stopped, but the sky is a flat, unforgiving gray. I spent the morning lying to firefighters and then my alarm company, concocting a story about a faulty sensor. They didn't seem to buy it, but they didn't press the issue. Now, every shadow seems to hold a threat, every passing car a potential enemy. I keep glancing at the front door, half expecting Sokolov and his thugs to reappear. Around noon, the bell above the door chimes, a delicate, cheerful sound that is utterly at odds with my mood. I look up from my desk, my stomach tightening into a familiar knot of dread. But it isn't Sokolov. The man who enters my gallery is tall, dressed in a charcoal gray suit so exquisitely tailored it seems molded to his body. He moves with a liquid grace that is unnervingly silent. He has dark hair, cut short, and a face that looks like it was carved from granite and regret. His eyes, the color of dark whiskey, sweep the room, not like a customer admiring the art, but like a general assessing a battlefield. They miss nothing. They finally land on me, and the intensity of his gaze is a physical force. It pins me to my chair. He closes the door behind him, and the quiet click of the latch sounds like a vault ceiling. The air crackles, suddenly thin and electric. He doesn't speak. He just walks slowly deeper into the gallery, his polished leather shoes making no sound on the old hardwood floors. He stops in front of a large abstract canvas, a storm of blues and blacks that my father painted years ago. He studies it for a long moment, his hands clasped behind his back. My father called this one lake effect, I say, my voice coming out thin and reedy. I need to break the silence. It's pressing in on me, suffocating me. It's about the suddenness of a storm, he says, his voice a low, smooth baritone that seems to vibrate in the air. He doesn't turn to look at me. How the sky can be clear one moment, and the next, the world is chaos. He turns his head slightly, his eyes meeting mine. You invited a storm into your life last night, Jenna Tomlinson. My blood turns to ice. He knows my name. I don't know what you're talking about, I lie, my heart hammering against my ribs. A faint, humorless smile touches his lips. Don't you? He takes a step toward me, then another. He moves with the predatory stillness of a panther. You pulled a fire alarm. You saved the life of one of my men, Marco. So this is Costa. The name Marco spat like a prayer. You also made yourself a witness. He continues, his voice dropping even lower. And a target. The The Petrovs are not forgiving people. They saw your gallery. They know someone was behind that door. They will be back. Each word is a carefully placed stone, building a wall of terror around me. I should have just called the police. I whisper, more to myself than to him. The police? He is standing in front of my desk now, looking down at me. He smells of expensive cologne and something clean and cold, like winter air. The police cannot protect you from Ivan Petrov. They can draw a chalk outline on the pavement after he's finished with you. That is the extent of their usefulness in this matter. I swallow hard, my throat dry. What do you want? You created a problem, Miss Tomlinson. A problem that now affects my organization. Therefore, I am here to provide the solution. He places his hands on my desk, leaning forward slightly. The proximity is overwhelming. I feel like a mouse under the gaze of a hawk. You need protection. Constant, visible, undeniable protection. You need to be so thoroughly under my claim that the Petrovs wouldn't dare touch you. Your claim? I repeat, the words tasting like ash. I'm not a piece of property. In this world, survival is about who owns you, he says, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. Right now, you are unclaimed. That makes you a liability, to me, and a target, to them. He straightens up, his eyes never leaving mine. There is only one way to make that claim absolute. Public. Unbreakable. I stare at him, my mind refusing to process the direction his cold logic is heading. He can't possibly mean what I think he means. You will marry me, he says. The words hang in the air between us, so absurd, so monstrous, that for a moment I think I've misheard him. A laugh bubbles up in my throat, a hysterical, terrified sound. You're insane. In my home. You will be seen with me in my home. You will be seen with me in public. You will wear my name. In return, you will have my protection. When my business with the Petrovs is concluded, the arrangement will be dissolved. You will be free. No, I say, shaking my head, pushing my chair back. Absolutely not. There has to be another way. You can assign a bodyguard. I can leave town. A bodyguard can be killed, he dismisses instantly. And if you run, they will find you. They will use you to send me a message. Do you have any idea what that message would look like, Jenna? He says my name again, and it feels like a brand. The casual intimacy is a weapon. Tears of frustration and fear prick at my eyes. You can't just walk in here and demand my life. I am not demanding it. I am offering you a way to keep it. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a sleek black phone. He taps the screen and places it on my desk, facing me. It's a photo. A grainy security image of the front of my gallery, time-stamped less than an hour ago. A dark sedan is parked across the street. A man I recognize as Sokolov is standing beside it, staring right at my door. My breath hitches. They're already here, watching. They are patient, Costa says softly. They are waiting for you to be alone, for you to walk to your car, for you to lock up for the night. He picks up the phone, the image vanishing. This is your choice, my protection, or their attention. You have 1 hour to decide. He turns and walks toward the door, his movements as silent and deliberate as when he arrived. He doesn't look back. Why? I call out, my voice cracking. Why go to such an extreme, for a stranger who interfered where she shouldn't have? He pauses with his hand on the doorknob. He turns his head, his profile sharp and severe against the gray light of the street. Because Marco has a wife and 2 daughters, and because I do not allow loose ends. The door chimes softly as he leaves. I am alone again, but the solitude is no longer a comfort. It is a threat. The silence in the gallery is deafening, filled with the echo of his impossible proposal and the image of the man watching me from across the street. He didn't just offer me a solution. He presented me with a cage. A gilded, safe cage, perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. And the alternative was a grave. 1 hour. It feels like a lifetime and no time at all. I stare at my father's painting, the chaotic storm of blues and blacks. The sky can be clear one moment, and the next, the world is chaos. My world is chaos now, and the man who just left is the eye of the storm. The hour passes in a blur of panicked, circular thoughts. Every option I grasp at dissolves into dust. I can't go to the police. He was right. They're useless against this kind of threat. I can't run. I have no money, nowhere to go, and he said they'd find me. I am trapped. The choice he gave me was never a choice at all. It was an illusion, a courtesy he extended before closing the door. My phone rings, the sound so sharp it makes me flinch. The caller ID is blocked. I know it's him. I let it ring 4 times before my trembling hand picks it up. Yes, I whisper, the word tasting like surrender. A car will be there in 5 minutes, his voice says, devoid of triumph. It is as flat and final as a judge's gavel. Pack a small bag, essentials only. The line goes dead. To stand. I'm not just leaving a building. I'm leaving a life. I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I'm leaving a life that I've been building for years, and I to stand. I'm not just leaving a building, I'm leaving the last piece of him. I grab my purse, my laptop, and shove a few changes of clothes from the small apartment I keep upstairs into a duffel bag. It's a pathetic collection of belongings to represent a life. As I walk through the darkened gallery one last time, my fingers trail along the edge of my father's desk. I feel like a ghost. A sleek black town car, so dark it seems to absorb the light around it, is idling at the curb when I step outside. The driver gets out and takes my bag without a word, his movements efficient and impersonal. He holds the back door open for me. The interior is cool, dark, and smells of rich leather. It's like stepping into another world. As the car pulls away from the curb, I look back at the gallery. Sokolov's sedan is gone. It seems Costa's claim is already in effect. We drive through the city, a landscape of steel and glass, but I barely see it. I feel numb, disconnected from myself. I, Jenna Tomlinson, am on my way to marry a Mafia boss to save my own life. It's the plot of a terrible pulpy novel, except the fear is real, the danger is real, and the man I'm driving toward is terrifyingly real. The car descends into a private underground garage, the steel gate groaning shut behind us like the entrance to the underworld. We ride a silent, private elevator that opens directly into a penthouse apartment, and when the doors slide open, I almost forget to breathe. The space is immense, a study in minimalist luxury. The floor-to-ceiling windows on the far wall offer a staggering panoramic view of Chicago and the vast, dark expanse of Lake Michigan. The furniture is sparse but expensive. Low-slung leather sofas, chrome and glass tables, everything in shades of black, gray, and white. There is no clutter, no personal touch, no warmth. It is as beautiful and as sterile as a modern art museum. And standing in the center of it all, silhouetted against the glittering city lights, is Rafael Costa. He turns as I step out of the elevator, He's changed out of his suit into a simple black sweater and dark trousers. The casual clothes do nothing to soften his intensity. If anything, they make him seem more dangerous, less constrained by the formalities of the outside world. "Welcome to your new home," he says, his voice quiet in the vast space. "It's a cage," I say, my voice shaking slightly. I drop my duffel bag on the polished concrete floor. The sound echoes. "It is the safest place in this city," he corrects me. "There is a staff. Sophia runs the household. She will show you to your room. There are clothes there for you. Anything else you require, you have only to ask her." "My room?" I ask, a bitter laugh escaping me. "Aren't we supposed to be married?" "We are supposed to present the illusion of being married," he clarifies, his eyes unblinking. "The arrangement is for public consumption. In private, we will have separate quarters. Your privacy will be respected." A strange wave of something that might be relief, or perhaps disappointment, washes over me. It's confusing. I should be glad. But part of me is stung by his clinical detachment. He is treating this purely as a transaction, a problem to be managed. "And what are the rules of this arrangement?" I ask, crossing my arms over my chest. It's a flimsy shield against his overwhelming presence. "The rules are simple," he says, taking a step closer. "You will not leave this apartment without me or my head of security, a man named Dante. You will not contact anyone from your old life without my approval. You will not discuss the nature of our arrangement with anyone, ever. And when we are in public, you will play the part of a devoted wife." "And what part will you be playing?" I challenge. "The devoted husband?" For the first time, a flicker of something unreadable crosses his face. "I will be playing the part of the man who keeps you alive," he says, his voice a low growl. "Do not make that task more difficult than it needs to be." A woman appears from a hallway, older, with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wears a simple black dress. This must be Sophia. She gives me a small, sympathetic smile. "Sophia, this is Jenna. Show her to the East Wing," Rafael commands, his tone clipped, all business again. He turns his back on me, walking toward the massive windows to stare out at the city he seems to own. The conversation is over. I am dismissed. Sophia picks up my bag and gestures for me to follow. I trail her down a long, white hallway that feels more like a hospital corridor than a home. The silence is absolute, broken only by the soft whisper of our footsteps. She opens a door at the end of the hall, revealing a bedroom that is larger than my entire apartment. It is decorated in muted creams and soft grays, with a bed that looks big enough for 4 people and its own wall of windows overlooking the lake. A walk-in closet stands open, already filled with women's clothing, dresses, shoes, lingerie, all with the tags still on. "Mr. Costa had these sent over this afternoon," Sophia says gently. "He did not know your size, so there is some variety." My size. He bought me a new life, down to the underwear. The thought is both horrifying and strangely intimate. I touch the sleeve of a silk blouse. It's softer than anything I've ever owned. "If you need anything, Jenna, you just let me know," Sophia says, her voice warm. She is the first bit of humanity I have encountered in this cold, sterile world. "Thank you, Sophia," I manage to say. She nods and quietly leaves, closing the door behind her. I am alone in my luxurious prison cell. I walk to the window and press my hand against the cold glass. The city lights glitter below like a carpet of scattered diamonds. I am high above it all, safe and sound. And I have never felt more trapped in my entire life. The uneasy cohabitation has begun. The first few days are a study in silence and tension. I exist in the east wing of the penthouse. Rafael exists in the west. We are 2 planets in the same solar system, held in a delicate orbit by the gravity of our bizarre contract, but never touching. We share breakfast at a long glass dining table, the length of which serves as a demilitarized zone. He reads a tablet, his jaw tight, his focus absolute. I push food around my plate, my appetite a casualty of my anxiety. The only sounds are the clink of silverware on porcelain and the distant hum of the city. He leaves for the day before the sun is fully up, a silent wraith in another perfect suit, and returns long after it has set. I spend my days exploring my gilded cage. I discover the library first. It's a shock. Tucked away behind a sliding panel, it's a warm, inviting room, the complete opposite of the rest of the penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling shelves are crammed with books, not just leather-bound classics, but worn paperbacks, modern thrillers, and, to my astonishment, an entire section on art history. I run my fingers over the spines, a familiar comfort in a deeply unfamiliar world. There are books here I thought only existed in university archives. Who is this man who reads about Caravaggio's use of chiaroscuro and also orders people's lives with cold precision? I try to assert my existence in small ways. I take a book on Impressionism back to my room and leave it on the nightstand. I use the state-of-the-art sound system to play classical music, Debussy, something soft and melancholy that fills the sterile space with a bit of soul. I expect a reprimand, a curt order to turn it off. But nothing is said. When I return to the library the next day, I find a book on Degas left on the central table, opened to a chapter on his sculpture. It's a silent, anonymous conversation, a breadcrumb. Sophia is my only real human contact. She is quiet, efficient, and kind. She brings me meals when I hide in my room, never commenting on my self-imposed isolation. She answers my questions about the apartment, but volunteers nothing about its owner. She is a fortress of loyalty. One afternoon, while she's arranging flowers, I try to probe, gently. "Have you worked for Mr. Costa long?" I ask. "Since he was a boy," she says, snipping the end of a white rose. Her hands are gentle. "He's intense," I say, fishing. Sophia looks up at me, her dark eyes perceptive. She sees the fear and confusion warring within me. "The world has made him that way," she says softly. "A man like him cannot afford to be soft." She places a rose in the vase. "But still waters run deep, Jenna." And that is the end of that conversation. My first public outing as the future Senora Costa is a week after my arrival. It's a charity gala at the Art Institute. Of course it is. The irony is a bitter pill. Rafael informs me of it at breakfast, his tone leaving no room for discussion. "We will leave at 7. There will be a dress for you in your closet. Be ready." The dress is stunning, a slash of deep emerald silk that clings in all the right places. It's more elegant and expensive than anything I've ever seen. Sophia helps me with my hair and makeup, her touch deft and reassuring. When I look in the mirror, I don't see myself. I see a stranger, a polished, beautiful woman who looks like she belongs in Rafael Costa's world. It's a costume, and I am playing a part. When I walk into the living area, Rafael is waiting, a black tuxedo accentuating his height and the breadth of his shoulders. He looks up from his phone, and for a split second, his mask of indifference slips. His eyes sweep over me, a flicker of heat in their whiskey depths, before his expression becomes impassive once more. "You look acceptable," he says. "High praise," I retort, my voice sharper than I intend. He raises an eyebrow. "It is a dangerous world we are walking into. Your appearance must be a suit of armor, not an invitation." He holds out a velvet box. Inside is a necklace of staggering diamonds that sparkle with cold fire. "This will complete the armor." My breath catches. "I can't wear that." "You can, and you will," he says, his voice final. He steps behind me to fasten it. His fingers brush the nape of my neck, and a jolt, hot and electric, shoots through me. The sudden intimacy is shocking. I can feel the warmth of his body, smell the faint, clean scent of his skin. My heart stammers in my chest. He fastens the clasp, and his hands linger on my shoulders for a fraction of a second too long. It's a fleeting, almost imperceptible moment of possession. Then he steps back, and the connection is broken. "Remember the rules," he murmurs as we ride the elevator down. "Smile. Hold my arm. Say nothing of substance. You are my fiancé. You are blissfully in love. The gala is a glittering, suffocating affair, a sea of fake smiles, whispered gossip, and champagne. The moment we enter, every eye is on us. Rafael Costa does not attend social events. His presence alone is a statement. And the woman on his arm? That is a headline. I feel their gazes like insects crawling on my skin. I cling to his arm, the hard muscle beneath the fine wool of his tuxedo, a solid anchor in the swirling chaos. He navigates the room with effortless power, nodding to some, ignoring others. People part for him like he's Moses, and this is the Red Sea of the Chicago elite. He introduces me simply as my fiancée, Jenna. The words sound strange and foreign on his lips. I smile until my face hurts, murmur pleasantries, and let him do all the talking. I am a prop, a beautiful, silent declaration of ownership. We are standing near a collection of modern sculptures when a man with silver hair and a cruel smile approaches us. Rafael, I almost didn't believe the rumors. His eyes, small and reptilian, slide over to me, stripping me bare. And this must be the lucky lady, Ivan Petrov. He extends a hand to me and my blood runs cold. This is him, the man who sent his thugs to my gallery, the man I am hiding from. Rafael's arm tightens around my waist, a subtle, protective gesture that I'm sure only I can feel. Ivan, Rafael says, his voice like polished ice. He doesn't shake Ivan's hand, instead positioning himself slightly in front of me. This is a private event. Of course, Ivan says, his smile widening. He is enjoying this. I was just admiring the art, and your new acquisition. He winks at me, a grotesque, lecherous gesture. You have expensive taste, Rafael. Be careful. Sometimes beautiful things are more fragile than they appear. The threat is unmistakable, hanging in the air between them, thick and poisonous. I always protect my investments, Rafael replies, his voice dangerously soft. The temperature around us seems to drop by 10 degrees. Ivan Petrov laughs, a dry, rattling sound. We shall see. He gives me one last, lingering look and then melts back into the crowd. I am trembling, a fine, uncontrollable tremor that starts in my hands and spreads through my entire body. Let's go, I whisper, my voice tight with panic. I want to go home. Rafael looks down at me, his expression unreadable in the dim light. Not yet, he says calmly. We do not run. We do not show fear. He takes my hand, his grip firm and steadying. We will have one dance. He leads me to the dance floor as the orchestra begins a slow, haunting waltz. He pulls me into his arms, one hand on the small of my back, the other enveloping mine. It's a formal, correct hold, yet it feels anything but. I am surrounded by him, by his scent, by the solid wall of his chest. I can feel the steady, calm beat of his heart against my palm. He was threatening me, I murmur, my head spinning. Yes, Rafael says, his eyes scanning the room over my head, ever watchful. That was the point. And you're not worried? I am always worried, he says, his gaze finally dropping to meet mine. The admission is startling. Worry is what keeps us alive, but fear is a luxury we cannot afford. He pulls me a fraction of an inch closer. The silk of my dress whispers against the wool of his tuxedo. He is watching us now. He wants to see you crumble. He wants to see me distracted. We will show him neither. He begins to move, guiding me effortlessly through the steps of the waltz. I follow his lead, my body moving on instinct. The rest of the room fades away. The music, the crowd, Ivan Petrov's venomous eyes, it all blurs into a distant hum. There is only the solid presence of Rafael, the warmth of his hand on my back, and the intense, focused look in his eyes. He is looking at me as if I am the only person in the world. It's part of the act, I know. It's for the audience. But my treacherous heart doesn't seem to care. It flutters, a captured bird. Not in fear this time, but in something else entirely, something far more dangerous. We dance in silence for what feels like an eternity. When the music ends, he doesn't immediately let me go. His hand remains on my back, a warm, possessive weight. "It is time to leave," he says, his voice a low murmur meant only for me. The ride back to the penthouse is silent, but it's a different kind of silence than before. It's charged, heavy with the unspoken events of the evening. The encounter with Petrov, the chilling threat, the intimacy of the dance. I keep replaying it in my mind. I always protect my investments. Was that all I was to him? An investment? An acquisition? When we step out of the elevator into the apartment, he finally speaks. "You did well tonight." "I played my part," I say, the bitterness returning. I slip off my heels, the relief immediate. "You did more than that," he says, turning to face me. He's loosened his bow tie, and the top button of his shirt is undone. He looks less like a Mafia boss and more like just a man. A tired, dangerous man. "You stood your ground. You did not let him see your fear." "He wants to hurt me," I whisper, the reality of it crashing down on me now that we are safe. "He will not touch you," Rafael says, and the conviction in his voice is absolute. It is not a promise, it is a statement of fact. He takes a step toward me. I will not let him. He is so close now, I can see the faint lines of fatigue around his eyes. I can see the rigid control he maintains over himself, a constant, exhausting battle. And in that moment, I see past the intimidating facade to the man underneath, the man Sophia spoke of, the one the world has made hard. I don't know what possesses me. Maybe it's the champagne, or the adrenaline, or the terrifying vulnerability of the evening. But I reach out and touch his arm. "Thank you," I say softly, "for tonight." He looks down at my hand on his sleeve, and his whole body goes still. He looks back up at my face, his expression intense, searching. He raises his hand, slowly, as if not to startle me, and his fingers brush against my cheek. His touch is surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to the hardness of his reputation. A shiver traces its way down my spine. "Jenna," he breathes, his voice rough. And then it happens. The storm I didn't see coming. The night is quiet, the city a silent, glittering beast outside the windows. We are standing in the middle of the vast living room, the space between us charged with a year's worth of unspoken words and a single night of shared danger. Just as he leans in, just as his lips are about to meet mine, a sound rips through the silence. It's not loud. It's a sharp, distinct crack, followed by the sound of splintering glass. My mind struggles to place it. A champagne cork. A light bulb popping? Then the window behind me explodes. A spiderweb of cracks erupts across the pane of reinforced glass, a starburst of destruction with a small, neat hole at its center. Time seems to slow down. I stare at it, uncomprehending. Rafael doesn't hesitate. His reaction is primal, instantaneous. In one fluid motion, he closes the distance between us, his arm hooking around my waist. "Get down!" he roars, his voice a thunderclap that shakes me from my stupor. He tackles me, shoving me away from the window. We hit the polished concrete floor hard, the air knocked from my lungs. He twists his body as we fall, landing beneath me, shielding me with the solid wall of his own form. My face is pressed against his chest, my ears ringing. I can feel the frantic, powerful beat of his heart against my cheek. The scent of him, cologne, starch, and pure male adrenaline, fills my senses. "Dante!" he bellows, his voice vibrating through my entire body. Suddenly, the apartment is filled with motion. Men in dark suits, guns drawn, appear from nowhere, their movements swift and silent. One of them, a man with a scarred face and cold, professional eyes, kneels beside Rafael. This must be Dante. "Sniper," Dante reports, his voice calm, clipped. "East-facing building, high floor. We're tracking it." Rafael pushes himself up on one elbow, his hand still firmly on the small of my back, holding me down. Sweep the perimeter. I want him found. Already on it, boss. Dante and his team melt away as quickly as they appeared, fanning out into the apartment, their efficiency that of a well-oiled, deadly machine. The immediate danger seems to have passed, but we remain on the floor. Rafael is still hovering over me, a human shield. I can feel the tension coiled in his muscles, the rigid set of his jaw. He's scanning the room, his eyes missing nothing, his body poised to react to the slightest threat. "Are you hurt?" he asks, his voice low and guttural. He finally looks down at me, his eyes blazing with a terrifying, protective fire. I shake my head, unable to find my voice. "No, I don't think so." His hands move over me, checking my arms, my shoulders, his touch urgent and surprisingly unsteady. He's not the cold, controlled businessman now. He's something raw, something feral. When he's satisfied I'm unharmed, he pushes himself off me and rises to his feet in a single, fluid motion. He pulls me up with him, his grip on my arm like steel. "Stay away from the windows," he commands, pulling me toward the central corridor, away from the exposed perimeter of the penthouse. The adrenaline begins to recede, and the shaking starts again, violent and uncontrollable. My legs feel like they might give out. That bullet was meant for one of us. It could have been me. The thought is a shard of ice in my gut. Rafael sees my state. He steers me into the library, the one warm, safe room in this entire place, and pushes me gently into a deep leather armchair. He moves to a small bar cart in the corner and pours a generous amount of amber liquid into a crystal glass. He presses it into my hand. "Drink it," he orders. I obey without question, the fiery burn of the whiskey a welcome shock to my system. It chases away some of the cold. He stands over me, watching me, his fists clenched at his sides. He is radiating a silent, contained fury that is more frightening than any shouting would be. "This is my fault," he says, the words torn from him. He turns away, pacing the length of the room like a caged tiger. "I brought you here. I put you in front of that window. I made you a target." "You saved my life," I whisper, my voice hoarse. "You shielded me." He slams his hand down on a heavy oak table, making the books on it jump. "It should never have gotten that close," he snarls, whirling back to face me. The control is gone. For the first time, I am seeing the man behind the mask, and he is terrifying and magnificent. "He knew you'd be there. He saw us at the gala. He waited. He wanted to show me that he could get to you, that he could take you from me, right here in my own home." The possessiveness in his voice is stark, undeniable. "Take you from me." He's not talking about an investment anymore. He stops pacing and runs a hand through his hair, a gesture of pure frustration. He looks haunted. He walks to the fireplace, leaning his arm against the mantel, his back to me. The silence stretches, thick with his rage and my fear. "Why?" I finally ask, my voice barely audible. "Why does he hate you so much? Why go to these lengths?" He is silent for a long time. I think he isn't going to answer. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough with an old, deep-seated pain. "Years ago," he begins, his voice low. "Before I was what I am now, my family was at war with another, the Tavianis. It was a stupid, bloody conflict over territory and pride. I had a sister, Eliana. He says her name like a sacred, broken thing. She was 17. She wasn't involved. She was an artist, like you. She saw beauty in everything." He pauses, and I can hear the effort it takes for him to continue. "One night she was coming home from a class. The Taviani staged an ambush for me, a car bomb, but my schedule had changed. I was late." His shoulders tense. "Eliana wasn't. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because of me." I close my eyes, a wave of sickness washing over me. I can picture it. The fire, the violence, the senseless loss. I was supposed to be protecting her, he continues, his voice raw. She was my responsibility, and I failed. I watched her die. He turns from the mantelpiece, and his face is a mask of anguish, the granite facade completely shattered. The whiskey-colored eyes that are usually so hard and guarded are now dark pools of memory and pain. After that, I made a vow. I would never be weak again. I would never fail to protect someone under my care again. I would control everything, anticipate every threat, eliminate every variable. Tonight, he wasn't just threatening a tonight. He wasn't just threatening a business arrangement. He was threatening to make me live through that failure all over again. He takes a ragged breath. I will not fail again, Jenna. I will burn this city to the ground before I let him lay a hand on you. And there it is. The crack in the armor. It's not just a crack, it's a chasm, ripped open by a sniper's bullet in a painful memory. This isn't about a loose end named Marco anymore. It isn't about a strategic contract. This is personal. This is about atonement. I am not just a woman he is protecting. I am a ghost he is trying to save. I stand up, my legs still shaky, and walk toward him. I stop just before him, looking up into his tortured face. I don't know what to say. There are no words for that kind of pain. So I do the only thing I can. I reach up and place my hand on his cheek. His skin is rough with stubble, his jaw tight with tension. He flinches at my touch, as if unaccustomed to gentleness, but he doesn't pull away. You're not going to fail, I say, my voice soft but certain. We're not going to let him win. He closes his eyes, leaning into my touch for a fraction of a second. A shudder runs through his powerful frame. When he opens them again, the raw anguish is gone, replaced by a fierce, burning determination. He covers my hand with his own, his grip strong, his thumb stroking the back of my hand. No, he says, his voice a low, dangerous promise. We are not. The attack on the penthouse shatters the fragile truce of our cohabitation and forges something new in its place. The invisible lines between the east and west wings dissolve. We are no longer two separate entities orbiting each other. We are two people trapped in the eye of a hurricane, clinging to the same piece of wreckage. The apartment, once a symbol of my confinement, now feels like the only safe harbor in the world. But it's a smaller world now. Dante and his team have sealed off the outer rooms, the ones with the massive, vulnerable windows. We are confined to the core of the penthouse, the library, the kitchen, a small media room, and our adjoining bedrooms. The forced proximity is absolute. The days that follow are tense, the air thick with unspoken fear and a new, startling intimacy. Rafael doesn't leave. He works from his office in the library, a phone seemingly fused to his ear, his conversations curt, coded, and lethal. He is waging a silent war from his leather armchair. I watch him, fascinated and terrified. I see the immense weight he carries, the burden of command. I see the ruthlessness in his eyes as he gives an order, and then I see the flicker of concern when he looks up and finds me watching him. We talk. For the first time, we really talk. In the quiet hours of the night, when the adrenaline has faded and the exhaustion sets in, we sit in the library, the whiskey bottle between us, and share pieces of ourselves. He asks me about my father, about the gallery. I tell him about my father's passion, his unshakable belief in the power of art, and my own fear of failing his legacy. I speak of my loneliness after his death, the crushing weight of responsibility. He listens. He doesn't offer solutions or platitudes. He just listens, his focus so complete it feels like a physical touch. And in return, he offers me small, guarded pieces of himself. He tells me about growing up in this world, about the father who forged him into a weapon, about the first time he had to make a choice between mercy and survival. He doesn't speak of his sister again, but her ghost is always there, in the shadows of his stories, in the pain that still lingers in his eyes. Across the room. I'm so absorbed, across the room. I'm so absorbed, I don't notice him get up until his shadow falls over my page. I instinctively try to close the book, embarrassed, but he is too quick. He gently takes it from my hands. He studies the half-finished portrait, his expression unreadable. I hold my breath, expecting him to mock my amateurish attempt to dismiss it. "You see things," he says, his voice quiet. "Not just what's on the surface. You see the cracks." He looks from the sketch to my face, and his eyes are dark with an emotion I can't name. "You have your father's gift." My heart clenches. It's the highest compliment anyone could pay me. "I'm out of practice," I murmur, looking down at my hands. "No," he says, placing the notebook back in my lap. "You just needed a reason to pick up the pencil again." He doesn't move away. He stands before me, a tall dark shadow against the firelight. "I knew who you were before the night in the alley, Jenna." My head snaps up. "What?" "Your gallery," he says. "I'd been there before, a few times. Quietly, I was interested in a particular painting." He gestures vaguely. "I saw you there, working, fighting to keep the place alive. I admired your tenacity, your refusal to surrender." The confession hangs in the air between us. He had seen me. He had been watching me. This wasn't just a random circumstance. There was a thread connecting us long before I pulled that fire alarm. The knowledge sends a dizzying, dangerous warmth spreading through my chest. He kneels in front of my chair, bringing his face level with mine. The sudden change in posture shifts the power dynamic completely. He is no longer the towering, intimidating figure of authority. He is a man, on his knees, looking at me with a raw, undisguised hunger that makes the air thin. "The contract, the arrangement, it was a lie," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "A lie?" "Not the danger. The danger is real, but my reasons." He reaches out, his hand cupping my jaw, his thumb stroking my skin. "It was an excuse. An excuse to bring you here, to put you under my roof, to keep you close." His eyes search mine. "It was the only way I could think of to get near you without destroying you." My mind is reeling. All this time I thought I was a pawn in his game, a strategic asset. But I was the prize. The thought is terrifying and exhilarating. "Rafael," I breathe, my voice trembling. "I am not a good man, Jenna," he whispers, his gaze intense. "I live in a world of violence and darkness. But when I see you, you are the only thing that feels like light." And then he closes the distance. He kisses me. It is not a gentle kiss. It is desperate, hungry, a release of weeks of coiled tension and unspoken desire. It is the heat of the whiskey and the cold dread of the sniper's bullet. It is the loneliness of his past and the uncertainty of our future. His lips are firm, demanding, and I answer with a ferocity that surprises me. I kiss him back, my fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. This is not part of the act. This is not for an audience. This is real. This is the raw, undeniable truth that has been simmering beneath the surface since the moment he walked into my gallery. When he finally breaks the kiss, we are both breathless. He rests his forehead against mine, his eyes closed. "This changes nothing," he murmurs, as if trying to convince himself. "The danger is still there. The rules still apply." "It changes everything," I whisper back, my hand on his cheek. And we both know it. The kiss redefines our world. The pretense of a business arrangement evaporates, leaving behind the complicated, terrifying, and exhilarating reality of what is growing between us. The days are still fraught with tension, but now it's a different kind. It's the tension of unspoken feelings, of stolen glances, of hands that brush against each other and linger for a moment too long. We have crossed a line, and there is no going back. The penthouse, once my prison, now feels like a sanctuary for this fragile, budding thing between us. I start to feel safe, not just because of his protection, but because of his presence. I feel seen. But the world outside our sanctuary has not forgotten us. One afternoon, Dante enters the library, his face grim. He hands Rafael a tablet without a word. Rafael reads the screen, and I see the muscles in his jaw bunch, his face hardening back into the granite mask I first met. "What is it?" I ask, my heart beginning to pound. He slides the tablet across the table to me. It's an article from a gossip website. The headline screams, "Billionaire bruiser Rafael Costa's mystery fiancé. Who is Jenna Tomlinson?" Below it is a surprisingly clear photo of me from the gala and a short speculative article. But it's the comments section that makes my blood run cold. Anonymous users are digging into my past, speculating about my family. One comment stands out. "Tomlinson? Wasn't there a David Tomlinson who used to work for the Petrovs back in the day? The one who vanished? Wonder if there's a relation." "David was my father's name," I say, my voice a hollow whisper. I look up at Rafael, my mind a maelstrom of confusion. What does this mean? My father was a gallery owner. He had nothing to do with people like the Petrovs. Rafael looks at me, and his eyes are filled with a deep, weary sorrow. I see the truth there before he even speaks. He knew. He has known all along. "Sit down, Jenna," he says, his voice gentle. The betrayal is a physical blow, sharp and stunning. "You knew," I say, my voice shaking with a dawning horror. "You knew my father was connected to them." He nods, his expression pained. "Yes." "All this time," I choke out, standing up, backing away from him. "The story about Marco, about me being a witness, that was all a lie." "The threat to you was real," he insists, standing as well, his hands held out as if to calm a frightened animal. "That part was never a lie. The Petrovs were already watching you. Your heroic act in the alley just accelerated their timeline. It gave me the opening I needed to get to you." "An opening to what? To use me? To get to them through me?" The questions pour out, fueled by hurt and confusion. "No," he says, his voice firm, "an opening to protect you. Jenna, your father was not just a gallery owner. 25 years ago, he was David Tomasky. He was Ivan Petrov's accountant. The name is foreign, alien. Tomasky. That's not possible." "He saw everything," Rafael continues, his voice low and urgent. "The money laundering, the murders, the trafficking. He was horrified, but he was trapped, so he did the only thing he could. He gathered evidence, ledgers, documents, records of everything. And then he disappeared. He took the evidence, changed his name, and built a new life. He became David Tomlinson, the quiet art dealer." My legs give out, and I sink back into the chair. My entire life, my entire understanding of the man who raised me, is a lie. My quiet, gentle father was a man on the run from monsters. Ivan Petrov has been searching for him, and for that evidence, for over 2 decades, Rafael says. He believes the evidence could destroy his entire empire. He pauses, his eyes filled with regret. "Jenna, your father's death last year. The car accident. It wasn't an accident." A sob escapes my throat, a raw, wounded sound. I knew it. Deep down, I think I always knew it felt too random, too cruel. But I'd buried the suspicion under the weight of my grief. "Petrov found him," Rafael finishes. "But he didn't find the evidence. Now, he is convinced that your father told you where it is, or that you'll lead him to it." The pieces snap into place with sickening clarity. The threats to the gallery, Sokolov, the sniper. They weren't trying to get to Rafael through me. They were trying to get to me. I was never the collateral damage. I was the target all along. "And you," I whisper, looking at him through a blur of tears. "You knew all of this. You let me believe I was just a bystander. You concocted this whole story, this whole marriage." "How could I have told you?" he demands, his voice raw with desperation. He crosses the room and kneels in front of me again, taking my hands in his. They are cold as ice. How could I walk into your life and tell you that your entire past was a lie, that your father was murdered, and that a monster was hunting you? You would have run, and he would have caught you. The marriage, the contract. It was the only way I could force you into safety without telling you a truth that would have broken you. I look into his eyes, and I see the terrible, desperate logic of it. He lied to save my life. The betrayal feels deep and sharp, but the intention behind it. The intention was to protect me. My internal conflict is a raging sea. I feel used, manipulated, but I also see the impossible position he was in. Just as I'm trying to process this world-altering revelation, Dante bursts into the room again, his face pale. "Boss, it's Sophia." Rafael is on his feet instantly. "What?" "She didn't come back from her trip to the market," Dante says, holding up a phone. "We just got this." He shows the screen to Rafael. I can't see the image, but I see the blood drain from Rafael's face. I see his hands clench into white-knuckled fists. He closes his eyes for a moment, a mask of pure, cold fury descending over his features. "What is it?" I ask, my voice trembling. Rafael turns the phone to me. It's a picture. Sophia tied to a chair, her kind face bruised, a gag in her mouth. And behind her, on the wall, a single word is painted in what looks like blood. Trade. Ivan Petrov has my friend. He has the closest thing Rafael has to a mother. And he wants to trade her for me. The external threat has not just peaked. It has reached into our sanctuary and stolen a piece of our hearts. "He's not getting you," Rafael snarls, his voice a low, deadly promise. "I'll tear his whole organization apart, brick by brick." "No," I say, a strange, cold calm settling over me. The fear is still there, a block of ice in my stomach, but something else is there too. Resolve. My father spent his life running to protect me. He died for it. I will not let another person I care about, Sophia, suffer because of me. He wants me. He thinks I know where the evidence is. "You're not going anywhere near him," Rafael states, his tone absolute. "You don't have a choice," I say, standing up, meeting his gaze. The power dynamic has shifted again. I am no longer just the protected. I am the key. He has Sophia. We have to get her back, and that means we have to make the trade. I pause, my mind racing, fragments of memory, of my father, of the gallery, swirling together. But we're not going to trade me. We're going to trade what he really wants. Rafael stares at me. "The evidence? We don't know where it is." "I think I do," I say, the idea taking shape, a wild, desperate gamble. I think of my father, his love for puzzles, for hidden meanings, the rhymes he used to teach me as a child when we'd walk through the gallery. "Where the winter storm rages, safe on painted pages." It was just a silly rhyme. Or was it? "My father's painting," I say, my voice gaining strength. "Lake effect, the one you were looking at the day you came to the gallery. A winter storm. Painted pages. Rafael, I think it's in the gallery, hidden in the painting." He looks at me, his eyes searching mine, seeing the desperate conviction there. He sees that I am no longer the reactive, terrified woman he brought here. I am my father's daughter, and I am done being a pawn. "It's a trap," he says, his voice flat. "I know," I reply, my chin held high. "He'll expect me to come alone. He'll expect me to be scared." I look him straight in the eye, a silent promise passing between us, a unified front. But I won't be alone, and we are done being scared. The gallery is dark, a tomb of shadows and memories. We move through it like ghosts, Rafael's team sweeping the perimeter, silent and deadly. Dante has confirmed the meet. Ivan Petrov is bringing Sophia here, to my territory, my home ground. He believes I am coming alone to make the exchange. He is arrogant. He is underestimating both of us. Rafael and I stand before my father's painting. Lake effect. It's huge, at least 6 feet across, the canvas thick with layers of impasto paint. a turbulent sea of blues, grays, and blacks. It's a beautiful, violent storm. How? Rafael asks, his voice a low murmur in the charged silence. He was a restorer as well as a painter, I explain, my hands trembling as I run them over the familiar surface. He knew how to build up canvases, how to hide things. My fingers find it, a slight ridge along the bottom edge, almost imperceptible. A seam. With a small palette knife from my father's workbench, I carefully pry it open. The frame is deeper than it looks. Inside, nestled in a hollowed-out compartment, is a slim, leather-bound ledger and a stack of documents wrapped in oilskin. My father's legacy. Not the paintings, not the gallery. This was what he died to protect. Rafael takes the ledger, his face grim in the dim light. He flips it open. Columns of numbers, names, dates. The lifeblood of Ivan Petrov's criminal empire laid bare. This is enough to put him away for 100 lifetimes, he says, his voice filled with a grim satisfaction. He can't have it, I say, but he has to believe he's getting it. We don't have much time. Rafael gives the real ledger to Dante, who disappears into the shadows to get it to safety. I am left with a decoy, a similar-looking old book from my father's office. It's a flimsy deception, but it only needs to work for a few minutes. Jenna, Rafael says, turning to me. He takes my face in his hands, his expression intense. Once this starts, it will be fast. You do exactly what I told you. You give him the book, you get Sophia, and you get out. Do you understand me? I understand, I say, my voice steady. I am right here, he says, his thumb stroking my cheek. I will not be more than 10 feet from you. I will not let him hurt you. I know, I whisper, and I lean in and kiss him. It's a quick, desperate kiss, a prayer in the darkness before the battle. Come back to me. Always, he promises. He presses a small, cold piece of metal into my hand, a panic button. If it goes wrong, press this. Then he melts back into the darkness, joining his men, leaving me alone in the center of the gallery. The bait in the trap. I don't have to wait long. The front door creaks open. Ivan Petrov steps inside, flanked by 2 of his thugs, and between them, they are holding a terrified, bruised Sophia. My heart aches seeing her like this. Jenna, my dear, Ivan says, his cruel smile illuminated by the single work light I've left on. So glad you could make it. I trust you brought what I came for. Let her go first, I say, my voice surprisingly strong. I hold up the decoy ledger. You get this when she is safe. Ivan laughs. That's not how this works. The book first. Then you can have the old woman. We are at a standoff. I can feel Rafael's presence in the shadows, a coiled spring of violence waiting to be released. I have to play my part. I have to be the frightened, desperate girl he expects me to be. Please, I say, letting my voice tremble. Don't hurt her. She has nothing to do with this. I take a step forward, holding out the book. Here, just let her go. Ivan's eyes gleam with triumph. He signals to one of his men, who shoves Sophia roughly toward me. She stumbles, and I rush to catch her, pulling her behind me. The book, Ivan demands, stepping forward. I hold it out to him. This is the moment, the few seconds of distraction we need. He reaches for it, his greedy eyes fixed on the prize. As his fingers touch the leather cover, I hear a series of soft, metallic clicks from the shadows around us. It's a sound I've only ever heard in movies, the sound of safeties being disengaged from a dozen guns. Ivan freezes. His head snaps up, his eyes darting into the darkness. He knows. He's walked into a cage. Rafael steps out of the shadows, his own gun held steady, aimed directly at Ivan's heart. It's over, Ivan, he says, his voice as cold as a grave. Dante and the rest of his team emerge, a circle of silent, black-clad death enclosing Petrov and his men. Ivan's face contorts in a snarl of fury. He looks at the book in his hand, then at me. "You bitch," he spits. He drops the ledger and, in a movement so fast I barely register it, pulls a small pistol from his jacket and aims it at me. Everything happens at once. Sophia screams. I instinctively press the panic button in my hand. Rafael roars my name. But before Ivan can pull the trigger, a shot rings out, deafening in the enclosed space. Not from Rafael, from the side. One of Ivan's own men, the one who had been holding Sophia, crumples to the floor. The other thug raises his hands in surrender, and Ivan Petrov stares down at his own chest, where a dark red stain is rapidly blossoming. He looks up, his expression one of pure shock at the man who shot him. It's Sokolov, the thuggish real estate developer. "The territory is ours now, Ivan," Sokolov says, his voice calm, his gun still smoking. "The Costa family sends its regards." He gives Rafael a sharp, professional nod. He was never Petrov's man. He was Rafael's, an inside man, all along. Another layer of the plan I knew nothing about. Ivan collapses to the floor, the threat he posed neutralized forever. The external conflict is resolved in a single, shocking moment of violence. Rafael doesn't spare him a glance. He is across the room in a heartbeat, his hands on me, checking me for injuries, his eyes wild with a fear that mirrors my own. "I'm okay," I gasp, my heart feeling like it's going to beat its way out of my chest. "I'm okay." He pulls me against him, crushing me in an embrace that is both fierce and trembling. He buries his face in my hair, and I can feel the shudder that runs through him. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispers, his voice thick with emotion. I cling to him, the smell of gunpowder sharp in the air, the reality of what just happened slowly sinking in. It's over. It's finally over. The aftermath is a blur. Dante and his men are ruthlessly efficient, cleaning up the scene, dealing with the remaining thug and the traitor Sokolov, who is now an ally. Sophia is being looked after, shaken, but safe. Rafael never lets go of my hand. He leads me out of the gallery, away from the violence and the ghosts of my past, and into the clean, cool night. Back in the penthouse, the silence is different. It's not tense or heavy. It's calm, peaceful. The storm has passed. Sophia, after being checked by a doctor, has retired to her room. We are alone. The city glitters outside the windows, no longer a threat, just a beautiful, distant backdrop. We stand by the window, the one that was shattered, now replaced with a seamless pane of glass. The original reason for our arrangement, the threat to my life, is gone. The contract is, for all intents and purposes, fulfilled. I am free. Rafael turns to me, his face serious in the soft light of the apartment. "The evidence is with the district attorney," he says. "The Petrov organization will be dismantled by morning. You are safe now, Jenna. Truly safe." He takes a deep breath, and I can see the effort it costs him. "Our agreement is concluded. You are free to go. I will provide you with anything you need. Money, a new identity, a new life. Anywhere you want to go. The gallery. I have already settled its debts. It is yours. Free and clear." He is giving me an out. He is offering me the world, a world away from him, away from the violence and the darkness. It's the most selfless, most vulnerable thing he has ever done. He is giving me back the choice that was taken from me. And I can see in his eyes that the thought of me leaving is devastating him. I look around the vast, beautiful room. This place that was once my prison has become my home. This man who was once my captor has become my sanctuary. My old life, the one I fought so hard to protect, feels like a distant memory, a skin I have shed. My future is not there, back in the lonely silence of the gallery. I step closer to him, reaching up to touch his face. "What if I don't want to go anywhere?" I ask softly. He stares at me, his whiskey-colored eyes searching mine, hope and disbelief warring in their depths. "Jenna, you told me that in this world, survival is about who owns you," I say, my voice quiet but firm. But you were wrong. It's about who you choose. And I choose you, Rafael. I reach into my pocket and pull out the hastily drafted marriage contract we both signed that first day. It seems like a lifetime ago. This was for survival. It was a lie to cover a desperate truth. I tear the paper in half, then in half again, the sound of it ripping a final, declarative end to the arrangement. I let the pieces flutter to the floor. I don't want a contract, I say, looking up at him, my heart in my eyes. I don't want an arrangement. I want the real thing. I want you. He pulls me to him, his hands tangling in. He pulls me to him, his hands tangling in my hair, and kisses me. It's not a desperate, hungry kiss like before. It is slow and deep, and filled with all the promises of a new beginning, a new pact. "Marry me, Jenna," he whispers against my lips, the words no longer a demand or a strategy, but a heartfelt plea. Not until this is over. Forever. Yes, I breathe, my choice made, my future sealed not by a contract, but by a kiss. Forever. I am no longer a target. I am no longer collateral. I am home.